5 shots taken. So, Brian, the Warriors beating the Raptors despite Steph going 2 for 16, something, nothing, or everything.
This has got to be everything, because if you'd have told me 10 days ago that the Warriors could have won a game that Steph shot like this, much less have been within 10 or 15, I would have told you no way. They have improved so much over this last, this homestand, really. Andrew Wiggins has played so much better, and the return of Draymond Green made this possible, and great win. Got to take off your hat to them.
Yeah, this is everything, because Steph Curry built up their confidence with his play. He said, I can carry us to a certain point. Those guys felt good about their roles. And when Steph Curry couldn't get it done for him, he had put enough confidence in these guys that they stepped up and carried the torch for him and got it. This is a great victory for Golden State. And you can't forget, Draymond Green is a champion. Steve Kerr, Mike Brown, the rest of the staff are big-time coaches. They're going to win games like this because they have that kind of staff, and you can see it now. They're starting to make Andrew Wiggins a part of what they're doing and really highlighting his talents and putting him in a position to do well. And so this is an everything win for them. I'm happy for them. Hopefully they can keep it going.
This is where I get to pull out the Kendrick Perkins I told you voice on day 2 of the NBA season when I said, look what happened opening night. Don't bury the Warriors yet. I still believe
Can't bury them, no.
Right? So, I mean, look, we'll obviously see how the season goes, but this is why. Don't bury the Warriors. They have a lot going on that team.
Carry
that is
on.
Good. Exactly. Carry on, as our friend Kendrick would say. Next up, LaMelo Ball became the youngest player in league history to record a triple-double, 22 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists for the Hornets, their 3rd straight win. That was Saturday. Now, here he is after the game on what's helped him when it comes to rebounding. Take a listen.
You're a natural rebounder. What's the key during that?
I mean, I played a lot of 21 growing up, so it's just a whole lot of basketball, for real. It's pretty much just instincts, I guess.
All right, Fizz, something, nothing, or everything.
That's everything. That's everything. He just threw out our game. 21. More kids need to go to the park and play 21. And for y'all that don't know what it is, a guy goes to the line, he shoots free throws. When he misses, you got to go rebound the ball, and then it's one-on-one. And not enough guys play 21. Good shout-out, kid. He's got bragging rights in the house. He got the triple-double before his brother.
That's right.
And we give his pops a lot of crap. This guy's raised 2 big-time basketball players and kids. Because if you know these kids, they're big-time guys. They're going to be great professionals, and I'm happy to see this. But 21, you got to love it.
This is everything. The LaMelo's first 10 games, I don't think could have gone better, considering what he was being asked to do, joining a team, a couple of weeks before he made his debut at 19 years old.
Wow.
I had sort of moderate expectations for him because his shooting woes in the previous leagues, he just didn't shoot the ball real well. Well, guess what? He's shooting 36% on 3, which is really good, which it looks like it's only going to improve. He's shooting in the mid-40s overall. And James Borrego, the Hornets coach, has done a really nice job of keeping the pressure off him. He's not starting him, but he's looking for ways to play him with their other guards. And they're 5-5. They've had some injuries, but I think he's done a great job. And I think LaMelo is off to I would give him an A. Considering everything. I know he's not, averaging huge numbers, but I think all things considered, it's been a terrific start to his career.
Yeah, and by the way, Fizz, you mentioned the Ball brothers. Don't forget, the middle kid, Langelo, is in the G League. So, I mean, those are 3 professional basketball players. You talk about more kids should go to the playground and play 21. As LaMelo said, this was his backyard. He didn't have to go to the playground. This is that concrete backyard that we've seen so many times on TV.
Sun up to sundown, we played 21. When we weren't playing pickup, we was playing 21.
Boom.
Simple as that.
There you go. All right, guys, up next.
Just for today, that's long-term health, with the accumulation of games. It's the numbers we want to stay away from with our players.
All right, so Fizz, Doc's pain. You've had to manage minutes in your time as a head coach. What would your concerns be when faced with the same situation as Doc?
He's hitting it on the head. I mean, the one thing I think all of us coaches have become over the last few years is like sports scientists,
right.
like unofficially, right? So we have learned that there is a science to the fact that if a guy is playing so many minutes, say 5 minutes a game, low-minute guy, and all of a sudden he jumps up to 40 minutes a night playing competitive NBA basketball against the best players in the world, that could lead to injury, especially over cumulative nights. And so he's right. And so, again, the league is going to have to figure out how do we work this so that, one, we're protecting our players from COVID, but at the same time, we're protecting our players on the court from getting serious injuries, pulls, twists, things like that can have you out for a whole year, for 6 months, things like that. And so, yes, Doc is right. When you're a coach, you're trying to manage all of this, and when you got 7 guys, you really don't have a choice. Most of those guys are going to play close to 40-plus minutes, and that's just the situation that you're in.
When they came up with this 8-player rule, it wasn't in the COVID era, and maybe it would happen 1 time or 2 times a year in the entire NBA, and maybe it would just happen for one night because a guy or two had a twisted ankle or was under the weather for one day. This rule, this 8-player rule, was not built for contact tracing that lasts 7 days. And so there's really only 2 options. You're either going to have to reevaluate the contact tracing rules as a result of new protocol, or they're going to have to consider expanding the rosters, which they've already done a little bit of by allowing 10-day contracts, which they don't usually allow at this point in the season. We've seen a couple of teams sign hardship players. Before this season started, Rachel, the NBA kicked around extending the amount of two-way players from 2 per team to 4 per team, or even negotiate to 3. They ended up not doing that. They may have to relook at that to give a little bit more of a buffer.
Yeah, and look, that's complicated too, right, Brian? Because I was listening to the Hoop Collective podcast on the way into work today. It's excellent. I recommend it to everyone. And you and Tim Bontemps and Royce Young were discussing a team like Boston had 14 players available when they went to bed and 8 players available when they wake up the next day because of contact tracing concerns. And so you couldn't get, even if you had those expanded rosters, right, could you get the guys you would need in the right place at the right time for the game?
Well, you might be able to, but you can't just sign the guy off the street. Like in the past, we've seen guys sign at 10 a.m. and start at 7:30. Now a player would have to go through a quarantine. You can't just sign them. So even getting a new player takes days. So you would ideally like to have those players healthy. But again, if they're ensnared in contract tracing, you're in the same boat. The Major League Baseball had this sort of taxi squad where they had like guys located down the road sort of playing simulated games, and that helped them grease the skids. I don't know if the NBA could look at something like that, but the G League is headed towards a bubble, and even that has issues because even if you plucked players out of the bubble who are playing well and healthy and ready and in shape, they would have to quarantine because they'd have to travel from Orlando to join the team wherever they are. This is just really complicated. The league is going day by day.
Yep, and of course, if you do expand the rosters and those guys are in your traveling party, it means that you might be more open to contact tracing issues because that's one more guy who might be bringing COVID into the group. It is complicated. All right, coming up, we're going to talk Spurs Wolves from Saturday. First, DeMar DeRozan going down the lane for the
Okay, D.
And then
Nice.
touchdown one. So which is more impressive?
That was a pretty impressive play right there.
Right.
I mean, off the... Oh, okay. I mean, I'm going with the dunk, though.
The behind the back.
I mean, that's tough. That's tough.
That
Off the
good.
wrong leg, put that English on the ball so it spin off the glass, but I like that. I like in traffic, over the top, boom. That's nice.
I mean, that was powerful, but the dribble approach was great.
I like
can't
it,
do either,
B.
so they impressed both.
I like it.
Both impressed me. Missed dehydration. Kawhi shed the mask and dropped 21 third-quarter points, and the Clippers come from behind win. He also held 2 water bottles at once. This was not Paul Pierce style. He actually held them in his hand. One hand, 2 water bottles
That's
at one
ridiculous.
time. Brian, why hold one when you can hold 2, right?
Well, Rachel, this appears to be sparkling and flat, and that everybody knows a good meal, you should have a bottle of both.
I can't even get my hand around this entire cup.
That's ridiculous. I mean, the guy just had 2 water bottles holding in his hand. I mean, that is unbelievable.
I actually think he could hold more than 2.
So unfair. So
I think he could
unfair.
hold 3 or 4.
That's just, that's wrong.
He had finger slack. There was slack in
Ambidexterity.
those
Say
fingers.
that 4 times fast.
Ambidexterity.
Lakers Rockets off the miss. LeBron snaring it with his left. Hurls the pass.